Today we're digging into the incredible, almost unbelievable story of the Silk Road takedown. And this is so much more than just a simple bust. It's a story about the federal agents who were supposed to be the heroes, but ended up becoming the villains in their own investigation.
I mean, really think about that. This whole case just completely erases the line between law enforcement and the criminals they're chasing. It forces us to ask, what happens when the good guys are running a multi-million-dollar heist under the cover of a federal investigation? Who's really the bad guy here? So let's just break this down. Officially, the mission for the Baltimore Marco Polo Task Force was simple: catch the anonymous mastermind of the Silk Road, a guy known only as Dread Pirate Roberts. But for two of its lead agents, well, they had a secret mission of their own: get filthy rich by stealing the very Bitcoin they were supposed to be tracking.
So how did this all kick off? Well, it started with a sting operation. The whole plan was to catch an insider, flip them, and get a backdoor into this massive anonymous empire. Their target was a man named Curtis Green, and his capture? Well, it didn't just open a door to the Silk Road, it opened a door to a level of temptation these agents were clearly not ready for.
Okay, so picture this. The sting was a classic controlled delivery. You've got an undercover agent dressed as a mailman, a package with a kilo of cocaine, and the moment Curtis Green opens it, boom, a SWAT team swarms the house. And just like that, they've got Flush, one of the Silk Road's top administrators. But way more importantly, they now have his account. They have the keys to the kingdom.
And this wasn't just any account. Flush's login was the master key. He had admin privileges, he could reset passwords, lock out users, you name it. But the real prize was his access to the Bitcoin wallets of every single person on the site. At the time, everyone thought Bitcoin was untraceable, so these agents were, quite literally, sitting on a digital goldmine.
And this, folks, is where the whole story just goes completely off the rails. What started as a mission to uphold the law spirals into a full-blown criminal conspiracy, all led by DEA Special Agent Carl Force and Secret Service Agent Shaun Bridges. They saw their chance, and they absolutely took it.
The first move was made by Shaun Bridges, who was the task force's computer expert. He used that Flush account to quietly reset the passwords for a few big-time vendors on the site and then just drain their accounts. 20,000 Bitcoin? Gone. He moved it all to a private wallet. But to cover his tracks, he needed a fall guy. And who better than the guy they just arrested, Curtis Green?
Now, Dread Pirate Roberts, or DPR, he wasn't stupid. He saw the missing Bitcoin pretty fast, and naturally he assumed his own moderator, Flush, was the one who ripped him off. So he's furious, and he reaches out to this underworld figure he trusts named Knob to get some violent revenge. The crazy part? Knob was the undercover identity of DEA agent Carl Force, the partner of the guy who actually stole the money. You can't make this stuff up.
See, Force had spent months building up this persona. He was Knob, this big-shot international drug smuggler, and he'd earned DPR's trust completely. So here's the setup. DPR is now asking one corrupt federal agent to punish the man who is being framed by his other corrupt partner. The irony is just off the charts.
Now, the agents see DPR's request as this golden opportunity. They can get paid for a fake hit and get absolutely damning evidence against him. So they coerced Curtis Green into this whole staged torture scene in a hotel bathroom. They even waterboarded him and snapped photos. And for the grand finale, the proof of death photo, they used Campbell's soup to make it look like he'd been poisoned. Seriously, Campbell's soup.
And this is just how far DPR was willing to go. As soon as he found out that Green had been captured by authorities, his order changed from torture to straight-up murder. He was terrified Green was going to talk. In that moment, DPR unknowingly handed the agents the most powerful evidence you could possibly get, and he paid them $80,000 in Bitcoin for the privilege.
But for Agent Force, this was just scratching the surface. He went on to create this whole network of fake online identities just to extort his own target. As French maid, he sold DPR fake inside info. As Kevin, he sold him fake government secrets. He even tried to blackmail DPR as death from above. All in all, he was running his own little criminal empire, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars while leading the official government investigation.
So eventually, the investigation does lead to an arrest, and we're headed for what's supposed to be the trial of the century for the dark web. But as the FBI is closing in, a massive part of this story is about to get deliberately buried.
The end came for Dread Pirate Roberts in, of all places, a San Francisco public library. The FBI caught Ross Ulbricht totally red-handed, with his laptop open, logged right into the Silk Road's master control panel. For the public, it was the perfect ending. The bad guy was caught, case closed. But the real story was a whole lot messier. And that brings us to the absolute core legal issue in this entire case. If your lead investigators are committing massive felonies, extortion, theft, obstruction of justice, how on earth does a jury never hear a single word about any of it?
Well, it really all boils down to timing and some very clever legal strategy. You see, by the time Ulbricht went to trial, there was another secret federal investigation going on, this one into Force and Bridges. The prosecution successfully argued that revealing the agent's corruption in open court would blow up that separate case. And they claimed it was legally irrelevant. They said, look, whether these agents are dirty or not has nothing to do with whether Ross Ulbricht was the guy running the website. So the judge agreed, a firewall went up, and the jury had to make a decision based on, let's face it, a story with some huge holes in it.
You know, these agents really thought Bitcoin was their golden ticket, untraceable digital cash. The deep irony here is that the very public nature of the blockchain is exactly what led to their downfall.
It turns out, greed makes you sloppy. They were moving so much money around, it started triggering all these anti-money laundering alerts on exchanges like Venmo and Bitstamp. Force even had the nerve to use his official DEA credentials to try to get accounts unfrozen. But the real smoking gun was the blockchain itself. Because what they either forgot or just didn't care about is that every single Bitcoin transaction is recorded on a permanent public ledger. It's all out there. So IRS investigators just had to follow the digital breadcrumbs, right from the Silk Road, through a few shell wallets, straight into the agent's personal bank accounts. Game over.
So after all of the lies, the theft, the betrayals, what did justice actually look like in the end? Well, the sentences really do tell a story all on their own.
I mean, just look at this. The difference here is just staggering. Ross Ulbricht, the guy who created the site, gets 2 life sentences plus 40 years. The corrupt federal agents who stole millions and obstructed justice, Carl Force gets 6.5 years, Shaun Bridges gets about 8. And Curtis Green, the guy who was framed, tortured, and used as a pawn, he walked away with time served.
And there's one final potential twist to this whole saga. The source material we've used for this explainer notes that there has been significant talk about Ross Ulbricht receiving a full pardon from Donald Trump, possibly in a 2025 presidency, which would be a pretty stunning final chapter to his story.
And that's what this case really leaves you with. It's about so much more than just a website selling drugs. It's about a system that allowed a man to be convicted based on evidence that was gathered by criminals wearing badges. And it forces you to ask a really tough question. Is it really justice when the path to get there is paved with corruption, extortion, and a whole lot of lies?